I suppose in essence what the blog was about was that we just had the CIP conference in 2019, and at that conference there was an outstanding presentation by Laura Strathclyde, which was talking very much about the work or the conversation that had started about the reduction of restraint, but also about understanding the complexity. And I suppose what the blog was about was just to recognise how far we'd come in Scotland, because it didn't seem that long ago that in Scotland, when we spoke, well, we didn't speak about physical restraint, but when conversations were taking place, they tended to be adversarial and rooted in what sounded like a culture of blame. So what Laura had managed to do through the work of CELCIS, which had begun the previous year, was just to continue that conversation. And I suppose what's happened since that blog was written is that we've not only continued the conversation, but action has now been taken to really understand in a bit more depth about, first of all, why we've been restraining children, also understanding what that means for the children, indeed what it means for the people who are working in, alongside the children, and also think that the courage of the sector to come together. So, for example, the Scottish Physical Restraint Action Group provides a forum for people to come and not only talk about what's going on, but to learn and to be able to take that learning back into their own organisations to help continue the change that we're seeing. Also think something that's been really fundamental is a shift. So, for example, the way that the care inspector are involved in the whole process now, they've been actively looking to help us really understand what we mean about restraint, behaviour management approaches. And what that's been really important to do is just for us to really understand the extent in Scotland to which restraint has featured in the care of children. And I suppose that what we would expect to see happening next is that data begins to be used to help change the future of children's services. And obviously one of the most significant changes that's taken place since the blog was written was that the Promise has published its report. And when I think back to writing the blog, very much it was 2019. It was a year of real opportunity for residential care. And I'm really proud to be part of a community, a residential care community that I think has continued to seek opportunity. And when I think about restraint, not to restrain children, but also really importantly within the context of the Promise, to seek opportunities to give the children a louder voice in how they're experiencing care. And also when we think about workforce, to hear about, or to hear from the workforce about the reality of working in the work, which for me brings a recognition of the value of residential care, because what you see again is someone who's been around a number of key reports in Scotland. There's always been question marks about the status of residential care. And I think one of the things that's been really interesting since the blog was written in that year of opportunity, many people expected that the care review and indeed the Promise would write residential care out the future tapestry of Scotland. They didn't do that. And what's really important is that the reason they didn't do that is because children and young people who were experiencing residential care as part of the independent care review spoke about it being a place where relationships really mattered, and it being a place where they could connect to people, could help them heal and be well cared for and indeed loved. And I suppose that's one of the other things that's changed. And that blog was written only 2 years ago, but more and more now we're talking about love for the children of care. So there's been a lot of things that have changed since 2019, and importantly, a lot of action taken, Sarah. I suppose that the biggest hope for the article was that people would recognise the value of what we do, what we've done, and what we're aiming to do for the future. And actually, just as I printed the blog today, Sarah, I found a comment. There was a comment, someone had posted a comment, and basically the comment was, what about the, and this was on the 17th of October back in 2019, an anonymous comment, there's no mention of the trauma felt by the support worker when physically assaulted by children. And that's really, really powerful. I suppose what's happened through not only the Scottish Physical Restraint Action Group, you also have the Scottish Network for the Reduction of Restrictive Practice. You've got the promise has created really, real energy for people about recognising the importance of the workforce. So while that's quite a courageous comment to post, I genuinely believe that organisations across Scotland are paying more attention to the needs of the people who are working there. So, for example, you know, when I look at what's happened in Aberlour, we've invested significantly, and the blog refers to this, the psychological support for the teams, and I think, to use the words of the promise, to hold the hands of those who hold the hands of the children. That's been absolutely vital. So that is real progress for us.